Hi everybody.
Hi.
Pova and Anda here. We're both front-end developers from Romania. We work at the same company. And last week
We had a conference here, a local conference called the JSPub. It was the second edition, and it was for the beginners. And we had a talk there while trying to convince everyone that JS is the best language in the world. But
because the talk was in Romanian, this is the country we're in, we both decided to record it again for the whole internet to see in English this time. So this is why we're doing the talk again. The slides are going to be exactly the same as the real talk. However, you see some boxing gloves here because in the real event in the pub we had more of a battle of arguments, trying to convince.
But pro arguments, not.
Oh yeah, exactly. So both of us were rooting for JavaScript. Today we're also going to have arguments. We're also going to ask you to maybe get in touch with us afterwards, tell us who convinced you more, but without the real battle feel to it. So without further ado.
Okay, round one. Pava mentioned that I'm a front-end developer, but I need to confess that my first job was .NET developer. And the downside of that was before I actually was able to write any code, I need to configure a lot of stuff in order to have an environment ready. But that's not the case with JavaScript, and that's my point. That's my first argument, that JavaScript is really simple to start. Any one of us in the world can have a browser and be a programmer. So if you're looking at us through your browser,
which you probably are, I think.
I tell you that you can be a programmer in the next JavaScript developer.
Yeah, in a couple of seconds maybe.
Yeah, because all you need is the browser. Yeah, there are a lot of sites like CodePen or JSFiddle, and there are more, I think.
JSBin.
Yeah, JSBin, in which you can write your CSS code, HTML code, JavaScript, and you can add libraries and all other fonts and images and other
resources.
Yeah, and you can test that you are coding something.
Yeah, you can actually. So it's like an IDE.
Yeah.
Like in the browser, right?
Yeah.
So you're coding right there and you see the result, and you can that's pretty cool.
Yeah, but you also have the alternative on using Visual Studio Code, which I think is the most popular through front-end developers, and there are a lot of EJs.
Sublime, I think.
Yeah, Sublime. You can even write JS in Notepad.
We don't recommend you doing that.
Yeah, that's not a good idea. But basically you can start with only your laptop, and that's it. You don't need to spend a lot of time configuring things.
It's pretty cool.
Yep. But, okay, I can write code, but how do I know what to write? I'm gonna start, but how?
How do you start, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
How do I know what to
write? You go to school.
Yeah, no. So the point is that we don't need to go to school, to go to faculty, to go to courses and so on, but we need to read books. But also we have a lot of sources on the internet. So some sites with tutorials, courses.
Workshops.
Conferences, documentation.
Documentation.
Documentation, you can find it on MDN. And you have also YouTube. That's because if you search on YouTube after JavaScript conferences, you'll get more results than Java conferences.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So we have also GitHub. If you looked into the programming thing, you'll be familiar with GitHub. And they have a survey on each year. And for the last 6 years, if I remember correctly, JavaScript is the most popular language
in the world.
Yeah.
That's really something.
Yeah, because you can find their resources,
repos.
Programs that you can try and modify or actually try to learn what's happening there and start with your own. Okay, it's really simple to learn. We have all this communication and all these channels, but you're gonna get in trouble.
Yeah,
You're gonna
definitely.
find something. Yeah, you're gonna have something that will not work in the first attempt. What we were gonna do then? We're gonna search on Google, and Stack Overflow.
Overflow, long live Stack Overflow.
Yeah, the first I think 3-4 responses will be on Stack Overflow, but the guys from Stack Overflow have the same survey as not the same.
Similar survey.
Yeah, a similar survey like the ones at GitHub, and what a shock! JavaScript is the most popular technology on there. So, in my perspective, that means that the chances on us finding a problem in the beginning, because we're talking here about learning and the curve of learning in the beginning, of finding an issue that no one else found before us.
That's pretty impossible, I think.
Yeah. So we will not be in this situation. We will not bang our head against the wall.
Yeah.
And that's pretty cool that you can start and you can learn and you can resolve all your issues through a laptop and a browser, and that's it.
So you can code in the browser. You learn through the browser.
Yeah.
You find problems in the browser, and you run the code also in the browser. The browsers are pretty damn powerful if you know that.
So, what's your argument?
Okay, that was a good one, Nanda. My card for the first round is gonna be the fact that JavaScript is an open language. Now, it wasn't open from the beginning because it was started by Brandon Ike for Netscape, which was one of the first browser vendors. It was the most popular one at the time. And he built JavaScript at his work. But then in 1997, so he built it in 1995, but in 1997 it got standardized. So basically it was, like the standard language in the browsers, it was JavaScript. It was standardized at ECMA, which is the European Committee of Manufacturing and Association. Yeah. And they have they standardize a lot of things, they do a lot of stuff, but in this organization, ECMA, they have TC39, which is Technical Committee 39. And this is basically the group of people who works on JavaScript, who develops it, who updates it, who adds new stuff to the language. Now, in this group, there are members from all the major browsers. So basically, we have Firefox, Chrome, Safari, and Edge. So because JavaScript is such a global and popular language, everybody's contributing in, but not just people working, and this is what I want to, this is basically the argument, not just people working for those conferences, but also me and you, okay? So...
Just me and you?
Not just us, but everybody in the world who's a JavaScript developer can contribute to this language, because the process of submitting, let's say, a new feature, and by contributing I mean you want to add something to the language or change something in the spec, you can do that through a process that they have. And now the process goes like this. So you're running around the world doing coding, whatever, and then you have an idea for a new feature. Maybe it's a function on arrays, or it's a new type in JavaScript, I don't know. Okay. And then you submit your idea to TC39. They have a form over there. And if they approve it, so if they say, well, that's not completely horrible, that kind of makes sense, because I can imagine they get a lot of suggestions. Some of them may be troll suggestions. So if they approve it, then you go into stage 0. So basically you're now in the process of working on this feature.
You get selected to the next...
To the next stage, yeah. So it's like a stage-by-stage process. Now in stage 0, or Strawman, you and your idea go searching for a champion. Now this is somebody in the committee, a member of the board, let's say, which joins you and your idea. He's gonna help you along the way. He's also gonna be your promoter inside the committee, right? So he basically says, well, I approve this, I think it's great, let's try and add it to the language. Now, together with your champion, you then start working on this proposal. So you create a high-level API of what you want to add or change. You think of some key algorithms. Maybe, I don't know, you want to add a new search function. Is it an iterative search or is it a binary search? I don't know which one is better to add. I don't know. Then you also think about potential problems or challenges when this is actually going to be implemented. Okay. Now, once you've done this, you and your idea and your champion go to the technical committee, and then you show them this high-level API, what you've written so far. If they approve it, then you can start working on the initial spec. So now you've worked on, some of your own documentation, something like that. Now you actually start to work on the actual manual. So the spec is like the manual, not necessarily for developers, but mostly for people who actually add those stuff in the browsers. Because the committee doesn't add it into each browser. Each browser just the committee that just decides, okay, this is going to be into JavaScript, and then each browser implements it for themselves.
And if the committee doesn't approve of your spec, you need to work on that.
Now,
or
good question. Now, this is not I imagine, I don't know, I haven't been there, but I imagine it's not like, okay, you're dead, bye-bye.
Okay. So
they might give you some suggestions and be like, okay, we don't approve yet because you haven't thought of this. We still need to discuss some stuff,
okay.
But it looks promising. I don't know.
Yeah.
But if they do... But if they do, you go into the draft phase, and the draft in the draft phase you continue to work on the spec, and you get into more specific details, and then you also pass it to reviewers. So you show it to other people, like, hey, does this make sense?
Yeah.
Is this okay? If the reviewers approve it, then you get into the candidate phase, which is, if you get here, it means that your solution is complete. So basically, all the work you can do on paper you've done. Now we need to actually put it out there in the field, implement it, and see how it behaves in real world. Because now we've been on papers, we've thought about APIs and algorithms and so on, but we need to put it in browsers. So here's your idea, your champion, your committee. You write some tests, then you write some implementations. You check if they pass the tests, and if they do, and you get moved forward to the final stage, which is the finished one, in which basically your proposal is complete. It will be added into JavaScript, not necessarily in the next version, but sometime in the future. And all the world will benefit from what you've added to this great language. What do you think about that?
How many proposals have you had already? Have you submitted already?
Yeah, that's a good question. I haven't submitted anything yet. I think so. In my day-to-day job, I haven't really dove deep into JavaScript, but I imagine I would need some experience either working for a browser or for the JavaScript engine behind, stuff like that, to really get into some specific parts of JavaScript
and find some
issues, maybe something to improve. Yeah.
But maybe if one of those
you is doing that,
you can tweet us or say something that this is added by me, this was added, because I really love to see
what people bring. Yeah, that's really cool. Okay, now round 2, which is gonna be kicked off by Anda.
Okay, so I'm gonna continue with the memory road, and I will tell you that in my first job the people were actually split into front-end and back-end developer. So you had the front-end developers that were working on the appearance of the site and adding some
what the user sees,
and adding some interactions, but the actual logic will be on the back end, and those were different people. And there were cases that were 2 different teams, not just one team with one back end and front end. If there were
different languages,
and different languages, and after you work in parallel, front end and back end, you need to integrate them, and then all the fun comes, because you'll find the fun, because you'll find out that you didn't think alike. And you need to modify some things in order to have an application fully working. But since 2009, Node.js appeared in the JavaScript world, and what this does, it allows you to write JavaScript code not only on the front-end part, but also in the back-end part. So you can have a fully functional application only writing JavaScript. You don't need 2 separate things, you don't need 2 different people to learn different languages, to see different problems afterwards. You just start and
You just do everything with JavaScript.
yeah.
And I think you can actually do databases.
Yeah.
Because there are some NoSQL like Mongo,
Sure.
and then you like save it in JSON, which is basically JavaScript,
JavaScript,
objects.
yeah.
So you have like on the front end, back
Back
end,
end database. Yeah. So you can do everything with only one language. So
That's actually pretty cool.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
I have to say. What's also cool as well is that JavaScript is in some new esoteric worlds. I put here new horizons. One of them is the desktop world. And I know what you might say now, but who writes desktop apps in 2018? Okay, we're on the web. The web is everywhere. Why should I install an app? And blah, blah, blah. Which is true, but maybe sometimes you need a desktop app. Maybe you needed it right there on your computer without any network connection. Maybe it needs to access some operating system features which the browser doesn't have access to, right? So in that case, it makes sense to build a desktop app. And through JavaScript, one of those frameworks is Electron. It allows you to build desktop apps. With JavaScript, you can actually build real desktop apps. And I'm sure you've worked with at least one app built like this. I'm going to give you two examples. So we have Visual Studio Code, like Anda said, which is one of the, I think now it might be the popular, but that is one of the most popular editors for front-end developers, but not only front-end developers, and also Slack. So
I didn't know that Slack is.
Yes, Slack has a desktop app.
Yeah.
Which is
I use it every day.
You use it? Because you use it with your team for communication. Yeah.
But I didn't know that
it's
JavaScript
built with
behind.
Exactly, and it's really.
Nice.
I don't know. I think it really empowers you to know that you can also build desktop apps with JavaScript. Of course, there are some trade-offs because otherwise everybody would be doing it. But in certain situations, you don't care. This is the better way. Now, after desktop, there's also mobile, and although the web is getting really into a really tough competition with mobile, and right now we have push notifications in the web, and we can even have websites that work offline. We can have that. Check just Google progressive web apps, and you will see what I'm talking about. Now, still, the mobile has some advantages, but instead of learning, Java or Swift or C# to build apps for each mobile platform, we can now do the same with JavaScript. So through tools like Apache Cordova and React Native, we can build mobile apps, and those are apps which actually download from the App Store or Google Play, and then you can install them and update them. So they're real apps, but we build them with JavaScript. Of course, there are some disadvantages here as well, because otherwise there wouldn't be any Android developer jobs out there if everybody would be doing it with JavaScript. But maybe if you want to test a prototype, or you have an app which doesn't really care about those disadvantages, and this is the better way to go, because you just write in JavaScript and it's on every mobile device. And finally, I think the most esoteric world of all is the world of virtual reality and augmented reality. Right now, we have things like this. I'm sure you've seen photos like this. You put on a headset and you're in an entirely new world. Well, with the latest technology like WebVR, which was first initiated by Mozilla, you can now build websites which live in the virtual reality world. So, you build a website with JavaScript, and then you go with your phone on that website, you put it in the headset, and then when you turn your head around or move in that world, you actually move in the virtual reality world as well. This is a small screenshot of such as a simple virtual reality world with a couple of cubes, spheres, and so on. And there's a framework for this called A-Frame. If you want to try WebVR, with those 5 lines of code, you can actually create a scene, a box, and put it somewhere, give it a color, and so on.
Similar to CSS.
Yeah, it's kind of like writing, attributes, because they're attributes on the HTML elements, because they are HTML elements. And even though this is not maybe as popular today as front end and back end and so on, I think in the future it will be really, really popular. And because you can do it with JavaScript, you don't need to learn any other language.
I actually did on my bachelor degree app something with virtual reality, and I needed to learn C++, because it was faster and it worked better. And it was quite hard.
Yeah. But now we don't have to.
Now it's all good. So we got to our final round. It's round 3, and Alex will start it.
I'm gonna start this round, and this round my catchphrase is power within. I think the power of a good language lies in its users, in its developers, in its community. And what I like about JavaScript, and I think what makes JavaScript great, is that. Oh, by the way, short parenthesis. Here's a quote from Romanian that says, if you're alone, you're not as strong as together. Closing quotes. Now, as I said, the community of JavaScript, I think, is really, really good. I think to be able to, work with this language day in and day night, because sometimes I love it, sometimes I'm like, oh my God, what the hell is going on? But still, at the end of the day, we managed to write it, and I think this requires a special kind of developers. And those developers usually get together, and we create meetups, we create conferences, we create, workshops and so on. Some of them paid, some of them free. But the important thing is that we're not doing this for, some, maybe a company's interest or something like this. We're doing this because we like the language, we like learning, we like learning it, or we also like working in it, and we like sharing our passion with other people. So basically, there are a lot of events worldwide, and month by month there are meetups, conferences, and so on, all about JavaScript, all about libraries in JavaScript, frameworks in JavaScript. And I think this is really, really great, because the best community, in my opinion, makes for the best language out there, which is JavaScript.
That's true, and I'll pick up where Alex left, and I will say that my argument is only power, because we are really powerful as a community, but also there are companies that we are using, their products we're using every day, like Mozilla, Facebook, Google. I think everyone in this planet knows at least one of these companies, and they choose to invest in JavaScript, in pushing the language further and making really cool stuff and helping us to evolve. Like Alex mentioned, Mozilla invested in WebVR. So we wouldn't be talking about WebVR if there wasn't for this company to actually put in the money and to find the specialist and have the idea to create something like this. Because we are really strong together, but we also need the finances, and
yeah, that's true as well.
Yeah, and also Mozilla has I think the most accurate documentation online on JavaScript.
Yeah, MDN. Yeah, that's great documentation.
If you want to find something, go on MDN and you'll find every detail. Also, Facebook and Google created these two frameworks, React and Angular. I'm pretty sure we all heard about them.
Yeah, that's true.
Alex mentioned React Native, which is also from...
Yeah, it's also from React, which is from Facebook.
From Facebook. So these frameworks are helping us creating a better
apps, and we're more productive, and you can do stuff with vanilla JavaScript, but it's kind of like cumbersome to modify the DOM of yourself, and
we want to exceed our actual knowledge, and we want to do stuff differently, and we learn.
We want to create, not waste our time to do, and those frameworks / libraries actually really help us with that.
Yeah, and also there's Vue.js, which was started within the community.
This the Vue wasn't started by a company, which is really, really amazing in my opinion, because it was started by a person and the community picked it up, and it's now number 2 or number 3 in the most popular chart.
So I'm helping you with your arguments. But my point is that React and Angular, Facebook and Google are paying a team of people that are full-time employed and developing this, so they're not gonna go to their job and afterwards create something, and
so they have more time to work on this.
And
that's true.
Also, we have conferences held by the top companies. This is a picture from Google I/O from last year.
Today actually is Google I/O in the United States.
When we're filming,
not
when you're watching it.
Yeah, so that is pretty cool.
It's pretty cool that we get to have those meetups that Pava mentioned, but they are limited. We're meeting in our circle, in our town, with our friends, and we're discussing things maybe that we heard about and we're working on a daily basis. But on these conferences, you gonna find out the newest things.
Yeah, and what the newest trends maybe.
And the future of JavaScript will be on top, on not only JavaScript, the future of the web.
Tech, web as well.
And also we have speakers. We have a lot of awesome speakers, and I'm pretty sure that each one of us can mention one speaker that none of the other are.
No, because there are a lot of great speakers and bloggers in the JavaScript world.
Yeah. I only choose to point out 3 of them. I choose Surma because I'm following him on Twitter and he's active. He's an engineer at Google. He has a blog. He has conferences, and I think he's active on all these social media.
He even now has a show called HTTP 204 maybe, or what is it? I don't know, 402. I don't know, it's an HTTP code. We'll put the link down below. He has a show with another Google developer, and they talk about the future of JavaScript. And it's like 2-3 minutes episode. It's perfect for, when you eat a sandwich, something like that.
In the morning when you're getting ready.
Yeah.
Also, Kyle Simpson, he has a series of books of You Don't Know JS, and neither do us.
Nobody actually knows JavaScript.
We're talking about JavaScript is the best language in the world, but we're not completely
we're not
experts.
Masters. But I don't think I don't think there's somebody out there who say like he knows it all JavaScript, because there are a lot of perks into the language, a lot of things.
And also since it's open, you can add things.
To it and changes
And he has, Kyle Simpson has courses on Front-End Masters. I think that's one of the...
This is one of my favorite websites to learn from, and they have like great courses. True, they're a paid resource, but they're also free resources, as Anda said, YouTube, on other blogs and stuff like that.
Also, cool speaker conferences. I think all of them are cool speakers, and you need to follow them on social media. And I think they're most active on Twitter because they're...
Tech people stay on Twitter, so get a Twitter account and go
follow
there.
them. Yeah, because you don't know, but maybe he's on the conference in a city near you, and you'll miss the opportunity on seeing it. And also, that's a surprise for my colleague, because he's an awesome speaker as well. In a lower league than the two.
There's like the first league at football. I'm like in the 4th league. I'm making my way there.
But if you stumble on this presentation without following him, you should follow, because he has a blog. I leave you the link here. He's a teacher in university, and that's pretty cool that he's learning students.
Teaching students.
Yeah, he's teaching students too. He's teaching to students. He helps them learn JavaScript and web. And he also speaks of different conferences.
Yeah. Also follow Anda, by the way. Just me.
But I'm not that active. So
For now,
yeah. And you can stay on top of technology with email subscription. I'm subscribed to JavaScript Weekly. I'm not subscribed to Smash Magazine, but I put it here because maybe you can subscribe if you don't like JavaScript Weekly. Also podcasts. I put there only a link, but there are
a lot of podcasts. Yeah, and also like I see you put here fun functions, which is I think this is a developer. I don't remember what company he worked on, but he worked for one of the big Silicon Valley companies.
That maybe got big, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know if Snapchat or some, I'm not really sure, but he quit his job, is now doing YouTube and teaching and stuff like that, and he has a really cool course on YouTube and videos on JavaScript. So follow that guy too.
Yeah. You can follow everyone and see which one
resonates with you.
Yeah, you can learn better. So I think that's my last argument in the final round.
Yeah, that's it for the arguments, and now in the real presentation, After our closing arguments, we had a vote, which one of us won. We won't tell you who won.
But you can tweet us.
We can tweet to us and say, you know, which one of us arguments you like better. But before you do that, let's hear the closing arguments, okay? And I'm gonna start. So my arguments are I'm gonna be short and to the point. I think because JavaScript is open, it's really, really nice. Also, it's really nice because the language is not controlled by the interests of one company, of one person. We can contribute. This, to me, the feeling that you can actually put a helping hand and change something. I think that's really, really amazing. Now then, I've told you about the desktop, mobile and virtual reality worlds. And I think the fact that JavaScript, and maybe some of you beginner JavaScripters don't know this, maybe you're like, oh, I didn't know JavaScript is on desktop, but it is. And the fact that with just one language you can touch all of those platforms, again, I think it's really, really powerful. And finally, my favorite argument from my arguments is the fact that we as a community, we love this language, we are enthusiastic about it, we create events, we create meetups, and we don't do this, because of money or because of, oh my God, the boss said so. We do this because we want to share our passion and what we build with other developers. And I think the fact that JavaScript has one of the best communities out there really makes JavaScript the best language out there. Anda?
I can tell you that it's the best community out there, not one of the best.
Yeah.
So from my arguments, I will say that I think from the beginning, for a beginner, the most important thing is that it's really simple to get into it, to get to do the actual coding, to get to test, and to write your ideas down and see the things actual happening right there in that moment, not waiting and not having to learn to read 100.
Install, okay, please install this.
So I think that's the best point of view from the beginner side. But also with those large companies and with every one of us pitching in and doing things, once you get more advanced, you'll not become, at the point that you know everything and that's it. You don't have room to grow. You'll have always room to grow in the web community. Sure. Because we're expanding everywhere. The browser is everywhere, so you can write JavaScript to go everywhere. You can find it in phones, tablets, browser. The browser is everywhere. And writing a fully functional app, testing your idea on maybe a mobile or only desktop or only websites, that's pretty cool because you don't need to spend a lot of time writing things down, spend a year, let's say, on testing, on writing your idea and your app, and afterwards you see that's not.
So this is like a point for my argument.
Yeah, I think we're in here together, and
we're in JavaScript, all of us.
Yep. So.
And with this, I think we're like in real world. I told you we had the vote.
Now tweet us.
Tweet to us. We'll put the links here below. Thanks for watching, and I just
see you soon.
See you soon, and go create some stuff in JavaScript and put it out there for the world to see.
Yep.
Bye.